your website, and a really cool one because I'm into racing and I like cars. Can you talk more about like Rev Racing? Yeah.
Sure, of course. Well, first of all, Rev Racing is basically esports racing, you could say. And really, the genesis of Rev Racing started when we first were working on F1 Delta Time, which is the official Formula One blockchain game. And just as a little bit of back history, we announced it, and then and they did our first sales in 2019. Right? And back then, I remember when we actually the buyer of the first car was bought the car with the 111 for 111,000 US. It was intentional, but he had not announced himself who it was. It turned out to be the same buyer as who bought the Beeple for $69 million, Metacoven. And but what that sale told us at the time, and then the interest from other people, was that there was a market where you could actually create an economy in a racing environment that would mimic and be like the real world, as opposed to just based on skill in racing. So Rev Racing was the evolution of this, because with F1 Delta Time, because it's a licensed game, there were some things that we were restricted to do that we couldn't do because of license issues, right? So we decided that we're going to make a brand new game with a sort of a gaming and crypto first narrative, where you can own your cars, you can rent your cars, you can combine capital and labor, and you can also win prizes with skills, right? And so the cars are also intentionally not sold. You basically would simply just farm them, right? And through activity, you would earn it. So it's really sort of play to earn, or do to earn the car. And then you would then be able to sell, trade, or use the car in the aftermarket. And we as a company would be sort of sustaining ourselves based on transaction volume, based on a cut of that. That was kind of the way that we had designed it. And we just launched it like 2 weeks ago with the drops. Today is actually the day when we're going to do the first race. $150,000 of prize money, up to 1,000 winners, right? And we've got sort of trading volume has started to pick up right now as well on OpenSea. It's on Polygon, which is also intentional because we wanted to make sure that the gas fees were very low, right? This was something that was a problem, with F1 Delta Time. But of course, the average car would now sell for 20,000 US, so gas doesn't matter. But how do we make an inclusive game if we're going to charge that kind of cash? So instead, Rev Racing is the answer to that. And the game was designed by a team of people that included professional experience with Formula 3 and GT rally driving. So we really wanted to sort of bring in that experience, and we think we're going to sort of create a kind of motorsports metaverse and completely change, we hope, the way that people perceive racing games. Because when you play a normal racing game, the only ones who can participate, outside of the fact that you can't earn any money, which is a different thing altogether, is that you can only participate if you have skill. And I think that's a very exclusive way of looking at things. It's like if I want to enjoy basketball, well, I need to be able to play really, really well in a competitive level in order to do that. That's not inclusive, and that actually doesn't expand the sport. But gaming has that problem. Try to play games with your friends who have played it for a while, or just you always feel like you're being crushed every time because they just kick your ass, right? Yeah, exactly. So instead, with actual real economics in place, you can still participate, but passively, by owning the assets, or by building a team, by being an investor, or by being a sponsor. It doesn't really matter, but at scale, right? As opposed to the big stadium sort of I own the esports team type of way. Everyone can participate in a sort of more inclusive way, just like we have with sports in the real world. So I think that's what we aim to do with Rev Racing. And it's an alpha game. But in terms of racing games, I think it's the most sophisticated one on blockchain, and will continually improve, of course.
Right. Yeah, and as soon as there's real prizes, man, the competition is going to heat up for sure.
Yes, yeah. We can already see some of the priming in the chat that's happening on Discord.
Nice. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, Mr. Human, any comments?
Again, wow. No, to be honest, I have so many questions, but they are more on the human side rather than the business side. So I don't know how conducive is that. Do you have any other technicals before I keep digging this man's brain?
I'll let you take a question.
Yeah, well, this blockchain space, of course, it's and DeFi, right? People are trying to take advantage of it for monetary reasons, economic, financial, right? A lot of people who do that, or I'm including myself, right? Like we look for ways of not finding success, but like doing the stuff that is necessary to get yourself, like to cross paths with success at some point in time. And a lot of successful people, and definitely you're one of them, and not just for monetary reasons, have very like particular ways of, for example, morning ritual, for example, right? A way of keeping their minds on track. I mean, your mind is very educated, right? In that regard, obviously, and that's why it goes back even to the instruments we were talking about. Normally, musicians, I also play instruments. I understand, like this dynamic